Mark, and we're going to get started. So before we get started, I have a couple of things to talk about. First off, our sponsor for tonight are our Bendy's Armature Kits, and you guys can find those in stopmotionstore.com. And I can show you guys after I get started what one of those looks like. But let me get rid of this screen real quick. There we go. And there's our camera. Okay, it works. Great. Okay, so before we get started, I just want to remind everybody that on February 14, all of your 5-week challenge entries have to be turned in. And so it looks like Dirty Red is going to get involved, and Tamarami already has one of the entries done already, which is cool. So check it out at animateclay.com and check out our 5-week challenge rules up above for more information. And okay, so let's see. Hey, Igor and Hoser Lou and Janet, welcome to the show. So anyway, here's just quickly, you can see this is what a Bendy's Armature Kit looks like. And these are what I was talking about before the show. And you can see they've got feet, arms, legs, jaw, eyeballs, all that kind of good stuff. So definitely check it out if you get the chance. Now, last week's show, what we did was we worked on our character, which you can see before us here. And so we're going to hopefully finish this tonight. I'm not really sure if we can, but I'm going to try. My desk is a little bit unorganized right now, so hopefully I don't lose anything here. Let's get that off there. So here what we have to do is we have one more face to make, which will be like a smiley face. And then after that, after I sculpt this one, I'm going to paint the inside of the mouths and the eyes with black paint. I don't want to do it now because I'll be sculpting on it and everything. Just easier to do it all at once. Let me move this light down a little bit here. So here's one of our face castings. So this was in our mold. I know I've shown this probably 100 times already, but here's our mold. So just used my heat gun. Sometime last week I used a heat gun and melted some of this clay, which is Avalon clay, which I'd like to get more of this from Tony Marathu, but I don't know if I can get more. So use a heat gun, kind of heat the clay up, press it into the mold, and then drip the rest in there. And this is kind of what it looks like from the other side. It's a bit shiny. So this would have actually been the top of where I poured it in there, and then I put it in the freezer, popped it out, and there it is. So you can see in comparison, I think this was the original sculpture. So the detail is actually really good. It looks basically exactly like it. So let me see. Let's move this little hair piece out of the way. And so I've already got one smile here, but I want to have like a smile with teeth for this character. And let me get my clay first. Put it to the side. Alright. Having cats is really fun, but cat hairs in your clay is not. That's one of the bad things about having pets when you're a sculptor. Sometimes those little hairs float around and get in things. Alright, so hopefully you guys are having a good week so far. I've been busy with a lot of I create stuff almost every day, different things, and so it depends on what I'm doing, but I have a paid job that I'm working on, sculpting job, and then also working on this little like diorama thing, which uses styrofoam and wood and miniature LED black lights and phosphorescent paints and things. And it's kind of fun. I'm sort of trying to figure out how to do things miniature wise that look like they're lighting up but not having LEDs and fiber optics to make things light up. Or not LEDs, fiber optics. And LEDs. It depends. Like, kind of hard to explain. I'm making this like little miniature cave scene, and it's sort of a exercise in set building for stop motion in a way. So I'm trying new techniques of trying to light it with LEDs, but certain aspects appear to be lit up just because I'm using phosphorescent paint. But there's blacklight LEDs that can be pointed at areas. So for example, the thing I'm trying to solve is if you have a really thick piece of styrofoam and you can't run a fiber optic through it or an LED because the LED gets hot and you don't want to melt your styrofoam, what do? So what I've come up with is using phosphorescent paint on areas and then aiming a black light, an LED black light essentially, at those parts. And the phosphorescent paint glows, but it's hard to see the purple light from the LEDs. So it appears like the source of the light is from the paint. If that makes sense. And so I've done this little thing where I've got this little miniature fire, right? So it's a little like a campfire, but I've got this kind of crazy psychedelic sort of look to it because I've used cotton and I put the phosphorescent paint on the cotton sparingly, like dry brushed it on there almost, onto the cotton, and then lit it with this black light, and it has this really cool eerie look to it, like smoke, because your eyes don't really see the very much detail in the purple light itself. So where the purple light hits the cotton, it looks translucent, but where the paint is, it glows really bright. So it looks like the fire is emitting light, like this fake fire is emitting light. I know it's really hard to explain without you guys seeing it, but it's kind of fun to try and solve those sorts of problems. Hey, Raven Star and Alexis, welcome back. Yep, we're still around, still working on stuff. Right now, this is our little short film project, and I'm gonna try to finish up this character tonight. So I've got like these little teeny tiny sketches on my paper down here, which you can't really see. You don't really have to do anything super detailed, just to kind of get a gist of the facial expression. And this one here I'm kind of going off of, which I know you guys can't really see it, but he's got kind of a big grin on his face, and under his eyes are kind of, he's got like lower lids that rise up because of his smile, like you would expect, in a smiley face. So Raymond says, do you have a film sample of the fire we can see? I don't have a sample. Didn't take any pictures, but I couldn't sleep last night. I got the idea in my head, so I woke up really super late when the idea popped in my head, and I got up and got the supplies together, and that little LED which is a purple blacklight sort of LED. I have a power supply where you can adjust the power, and when I went on eBay, I found these things, and they run on 12 volts, but they've got like a small resistor inside there. And so I have a power strip thing, an AC adapter kind of thing, where you can flick a little switch to different voltages, It's like a variable power supply. And so I used, 12 volts. 12 volts actually got the resistors kind of hot, and the heat shrink tubing on it started to melt. So I think that's too strong. So I bumped down the power to like 7.5 volts or so, and it worked pretty well. Didn't get hot. And then I have a hole drilled in a piece of wood, and I've stuck the LED underneath the hole, and I put the cotton on top of the hole, so the whole thing kind of lit up. And I found that if you aimed the LED directly at the cotton, it got too bright. It was too lit up. So I kind of offset the cotton just a little bit from the hole on top and painted on my phosphorescent paint. And by the way that I found the phosphorescent paint was I had this purple laser, and what's cool about it is you can take one of these to a craft store like Michael's or someplace, right? Let me get one of the paints and I'll show you guys. I'll show you what I did. So they have a ton of paints in Michael's craft stores, tons of them, like how many hundreds. And so these are the ones that I actually ended up finding, and they're all different companies that make these. This is neon yellow. This is a Craft Smart acrylic paint. It's like neon, it says on there. This one is patio paint outdoors. So what I would do is, they have all these lined up on shelves, and you don't know which one will glow. And some of them appear like they would glow, right? So you take your purple laser, and like, for example, this paper is white, so you can see it's kind of bright. But once you touch it on one of these, it just glows really super bright. Really, really bright. And it's all, you can't really probably tell on the web camera. It looks almost white on the web camera. It's not really that white, but as soon as you touch your laser to it, you know which one is going to work. So that's just like a little tip for you guys if you want to try and do that yourself, and you don't want to buy a bunch of paints and then take them home and put them under a black light, and then you're like, oh, these don't work. Because a lot of them do look like they will, but they don't. So anyway, those are the paints I used, and what else can I say? It's great for trying to make things light up. Like, I'm thinking small cockpits and little like airplane sets and things like that. And the other thing that I did, I'm gonna get off track here, but let me show you guys something quick. If I can find it, here it is. So I think I told you guys the last time that I bought this stuff here. This is the Stuart Semple Black. And this is the most mattest, blackest paint you can buy on the market. So this stuff here, what I did is I painted it on some plexiglass here. And then I tried to make what do you call it? The Northern Lights on there. But it's just a test piece. And by the way, here's the cotton, you can see where I sort of stuck on some. I tried different colors. I think this one here has got some of the green and the pink. This one actually worked really well. It's really subtle. I mean, you guys, unfortunately, my camera won't focus here. Focus camera. You can see I barely touched any paint on there. And this one worked really super great. And now the fire is really tiny, obviously. This is like the super small scale. Just a little flame. But I'm thinking you can use like a replacement system with these, where you've got more and less paint on there. So maybe switch out like this one, which has more on that one. I don't really know. I haven't tried it animation-wise, but I'm pretty sure that would work really well. But using this black paint now, I've painted over it, so it doesn't really look so great. I actually have thin washes of paint on this, so the black is actually, you can see more light reflecting off it than you normally could. But anyway, I found that this one here, I've got blue paint smeared on here, and when I have it under a black light, it glows really bright. You can't see it here without the black light on it, but I found that the blue looks really awesome. This kind of blue neon paint. Really looks really good. It has a lot of depth to it. And then I tried putting little stars on there with the brightest color, which would have been the neon yellow, which you can see here. And it's really great for making star fields. So you guys might want to experiment with that. If you need to make stars on a star field, try it with some of this neon paint and some purple LEDs. Just make sure that the LEDs that you use, you understand how they work, because oh, hey Ron. Ron's here. Oh, well, there goes all my stuff. I'll get that later. Anyway, let's get back to sculpting here. But hopefully you guys can have fun with that. Oh. Guys talking about The Last Jedi, yep. A lot of mixed reviews on that. I saw it when it came out, like it's like the first day. I think I talked about it on the show, though. I felt like, it was half good, half not good. I didn't like all of it, but such is life. You can't get what you want all the time. Alright, so I just cut this mouth open and moved it downwards. I think I did that with this one here as well. Just to make the mouth appear like it's kind of opening. Now I'm going to use some orange to cover up that crack in there, and then also sculpt the mouth. A monster cereal spot. That sounds cool. Ron, I haven't seen you on Facebook very often, but if you can send me, if you made a new spot and you can share it, I'd love to see that. Not too many people making stop motion TV commercials and things, unfortunately. Some of the most memorable stuff out there that I can think of is in stop motion. Of course, I know I'm biased, but I wish more companies would sort of jump on making those kinds of things again, or paying people to make them. I still think like the Domino's Pizza Noid was one of the best advertising campaigns in the world. Let's see here. I showed my son has a friend who's, I think he's maybe 7 or 8 years old. He lives down the block, and he's got some really nice parents. They moved here on our block about maybe a year ago or so. And so AJ and him are really good friends. And I have one of the original Domino's Pizza Noid puppets that I bought off eBay a long time ago. It's like one of my favorite little mementos. And he even remembered it, like he's like, oh yeah, I remember the Domino's Pizza Noid, I mean, people really remember that stuff. I think the Geico lizard is pretty cool too. I think that, I mean, that would be cool in stop motion. But I think that, like with Domino's, the Noid, there were so many spots. They really built that character up and gave him a personality, and you kind of got to know him. And he was like this little gremlin, you know, sort of like in, I guess, World War II. They had gremlins on airplanes that would mess up the airplanes, and they had all these like kind of stories around them and how they were as it's like leprechauns and all that kind of stuff. Um, those kind of characters are timeless, and people remember them for a really long time. And if you can do that with an advertising pitch for pizza or something else, and you have a character that's like that, people will never forget it. But nowadays, they don't really stick to one character as much with advertisements. A lot of stuff is really boring. So Ron says, I'm mostly off Facebook. I just started the Sculpting of the Monsters cereals ad, but I've been thinking about it for a long time. I'm going for it. It's a perfect match for a Leica style look. Cool. Yeah, so who's your plan to pitch it to? Just like an advertising agency or? I'm just kind of curious, like, who do you pitch it to? Is it to a cereal company or an advertising agency or? Because it almost seems like you could go direct to like Kellogg's or what is that one? General Mills or somebody. Be like, hey, you guys need an ad? I mean, they might get mad. They'll be like, that's soliciting. You can't do that. Let's see here. It sounds pretty neat, though. Okay. So this smile, I want to have actually come down more. So I'm going to crack his mouth open again. I don't like the way it looks. So I'm going to alter it a bit. Kind of going so off topic tonight that I don't know if I'm going to even finish this tonight. I didn't manage my time tonight well. Oh, okay, so I'm super excited about it. They had their own ad team, but they're always looking for a new look. I did a bunch of research. Cool. And so you guys are talking about the Solo movie? I saw, what is it? An Obi-Wan, like a fake Obi-Wan Kenobi teaser. Somebody took Ewan McGregor had, I guess, acted in a religious film. I'm not really sure. I wasn't sure which film it was that I saw the footage from, but they sort of tied it all together and they added voices of Yoda in there and things like that. And like flashback scenes and stuff. And it seems that's, like a lot of fans will make that and you'll think, oh, is this a new Star Wars film? Is this, But I also read that Ewan McGregor is open to the idea of a Obi-Wan Kenobi film, but that they haven't talked to him about it, or offered him a position on even a possibility of doing it. Or so I think it's all just kind of rumors and stuff right now. But so there's going to be Solo, there's going to be a Yoda one, and then rumors are that there's an Obi-Wan Kenobi one. I don't know. What do you guys think about that? I mean, is that something that you guys would go see if they released all those? I think it would be kind of fun. You know, if the writing is good, of course. Yeah, it's a Han Solo movie, which I think they're what, like halfway done making, or 3/4 of the way making. But wasn't there like an issue with where the director quit or something, and then Ron Howard is in there working on it. He took over or something. I've heard all kinds of stuff, but I haven't really kept up with it. So maybe one of you guys knows. But so Hoser Lou says I would go to the Solo movie by myself. So you'd have a solo viewing of the movie? Is that what you're saying? Maybe that's the prerequisite. If you're going to go there, you got to go by yourself. Or you can't get a ticket. Alright, I think this guy's getting close to where I like him, finally. You know, it's easy to sculpt things like a smile and a face, but to get it to look nice is always tough. To get just the right angle of the cheeks and all that, and the lips. It's that decision-making process that was what takes so long to sculpt. Alright, so I'm going to smooth it out. So Rod says, I'll see anything Star Wars. And Alexis is saying, after what Leica did with Kubo and the two strings, stop motion animation got high tech and really difficult to get into. Yeah, it is pretty high tech for sure. This kind of hands-on stuff is not really considered as nice, you know. Especially competing with Pixar and other films, they want things to look really super polished and clean and perfect. To the point where I know I posted one film on the Facebook page where the way they made it was they made everything in stop motion and the animation was flawless. But what they did is they used CG faces on top of the puppets, I guess to get more subtle expressions. I know Alba Garcia with her film, she's doing that too. But so there are some, you know, individuals out there doing it that don't have big budgets. So it is possible. If you understand how to use Blender and ZBrush, you can do it. Of course, that's an expense, and you have to take time to learn it, and you have to have, you know, multidisciplinary skills and using the digital tools and your hands and everything else. But you know, it's just kind of a matter of taste, what you think works best. To me, it's more a process that is so much fun with stop motion. The process of doing it is fun, and trying to solve problems and doing it in a way that nobody else has done, as opposed to doing it the way everybody does it, with computers. It's like in the good old days, we used to use our brains to solve problems, not computers. That's what I'm going to be saying when I'm really old, in the good old days. All this new high tech stuff. All these kids were so spoiled. But that's progress. That's the way it is, right? So. And Alexis is saying it looks like a 3D animation more thanks than a stop motion film. Yep. Yeah, I mean, I have yet to animate something that's, that awesome of a puppet, if you want to call it that, where you have like literally 10,000 possible expressions and all that kind of thing. I mean, there's a lot of benefits to it for sure. I mean, you can do a lot more with computers, but sometimes it's better to be limited in some ways. To limit yourself, because that's where the magic is, where you're solving problems, like I said before, which are new problems, but you can't just make something in a computer. You got to think of how to use the materials, and not only the materials, but lighting things properly. How do you light stuff? What are some new techniques for lighting, and then using computers just kind of to augment that and add to it if needed, where, like, for example, removing rigs, and there's so many great purposes that computers are used for, but it's not as much of a challenge to use computers, I guess is what I'm trying to say. It comes down to techniques more than an artistic style, Well, that's not really true either. I don't know. I just don't like the process as much. One of the things that I find really crazy is artificial intelligence. There are robots now that are, able to create art and portraits of people, and draw things and paint things. And so one of the things that if you guys ever study, like, for example, I think it's futurism.com is one webpage where they only deal with the future of technology and whatnot, and they're saying that artificial intelligence is going to really change the way we do business, and how companies do business, and how for a company to remove all the human beings is considered a good thing. You can make more money if you don't have to pay human beings, so they're going to have robots and artificial intelligence doing most of the tasks and all. And some of the people are saying, and I read some articles where they're saying that if you want to really make a living in the future, you should be an artist, because art is something that would be for fun and you'll feel fulfilled and all this kind of stuff with your life. Like you're actually doing something with it. But they're also, using artificial intelligence to create things that we create as, for fun all the time. And like this, an artificial intelligence program could perhaps do what I'm doing here. So the need for human beings, the way I kind of see it is that in the future, you're just going to be a consumer of artificially created stuff. Video games, movies, that kind of thing, right? Let's see here. Focus. There we go. There he is. Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's always good to have, real human creations, right? And so Hoserlu says, I'm doing a research study on artificial intelligence and human resources now. Oh. Yep. Human resources, they could definitely, that whole aspect, I mean, every job out there can be taken over by artificial intelligence at one point. I think the thing they're saying now is once you have a general overarching intelligence that is an equivalent to a human intelligence, AI can evolve 10,000 times faster than humans can evolve in terms of intelligence, because they have processing power that's faster than our human mind. And it's not going to paint all these mouths and stuff. So they're saying that if you have two intelligences, you have one intelligence that kind of tries to solve problems, then you have another intelligence that rates the solutions by the intelligence. So you kind of have like two intelligences talking to each other, and over time it evolves. Ooh, man, I squirted out a bunch of black here. It was stuck and I squeezed it and it shot out. Anyways, it's really fascinating, and I think that if you, like, we're still in the infancy period of artificial intelligence for the most part, but it's supposedly evolving really super fast, and robots are evolving super fast as well. The ability to create stuff, by yourself without having a manufacturer do it. And even designs, like everything from designing cars with artificial intelligence is being done. Some of the stuff that's designed are like car chassis. I've seen car chassis that are designed by artificial intelligence, and the car chassis ends up looking sort of like a biological creature, but it takes into account all the different stresses that the car goes through. So if you turn a corner in a car and you have all this force on the wheels and all the shocks and everything, it accounts for those forces, it calculates them, and it will shift the design and alter it in a certain way. And then what they do is they 3D print the parts, and so you don't have to use traditional machine shops for that. And the 3D print is stronger and lighter and just better in every possible way to what a human designer can do. There's still humans that are needed to run the software and everything, but the software just does it. Does all the calculations, everything. It knows what is better. It runs everything through a physics simulation and then spits out a result, and there's no competing against it. There's just none. You cannot compete against it because it's so advanced in terms of being able to do something fast, efficiently, and better, and with math and whatnot that no human can even do. Like they used to do with slide rules and then calculators and then computers, and now with artificial intelligence, there's no comparison to it. So Google's DeepMind has created a lot of art as well. It takes videos and it takes paintings and things, and it will look at it, observe it, and then try to make sense of it, and then it creates its own art. It outputs, like there's the one where they have like animals and stuff, animals and insects. It tries to see a painting. It looks at a painting and tries to figure out where the animals and insects are in the painting, even though there are none. It tries to compare, like an animal's body to what you've created. And it's almost like a hallucination, like it sees stuff in things that are, I think they call it pattern recognition, recognizes patterns. It's really fascinating, but like I say, I don't really know what that means for the future of art and artists and animators. Because there are people that are working on literally trying to make animation with that kind of a setup, and also with writing stories. So you could theoretically take somebody, like Neil Gaiman, whatever, I can never remember, but have an artificial intelligence where you take all of his books and it reads them within 10 seconds, right? Reads all of his books word for word, understands the patterns within his writing abilities and skills, and then outputs a story of its own, and you won't be able to tell the difference if he wrote it or the artificial intelligence wrote it. And it would be as good as his own stories. I mean, it's really freaky to think you can do that. I've even seen, I've seen how people use artificial intelligence. What they do is they take sound, like a person's voice, and turn it into a picture. So it's kind of like a waveform picture. And then what they do is I'll put this over to the side here. They take these pictures and then try to reverse engineer based on these like spectrograms what the person's going to actually sound like, without having a recording of the person. So like having a duplicated voice that matches the original. And it will look at the patterns, and it will just keep calculating and calculating and calculating and calculating stuff. It takes a long time, and it can make your own voice on its own, and it can have you say anything. So we're talking sound, we're talking pictures, we're talking stories, we're talking design, right? These are all things that are used in stop motion. So technically, you could have artificial intelligence make a stop motion film one day. And you can even have a robot do the animation if you really wanted to go crazy. So completely take a stop motion studio, build it with artificial intelligence and robots. Yep, Skynet, that's right. Ron says we will fight the robots. There is no other option. Well, you can't. Sorry. Those robots will be so fast, so accurate with guns, and so much smarter than you, you're dead. There's no way you're going to survive. Sorry. Ain't gonna happen. Machines that think will be Nazis by default. Only victims are more optimistic about. Have you ever watched that the Sophia robot? That's really interesting. You guys should check out the Sophia robot from Hanson Robotics. You guys gotta check that out. Sophia, Sophia. And the creators of it are hippy dippy, like save the trees and all compassionate, and the robots reflect that. So really, robots and artificial intelligence can only be what they are programmed to be and what their inputs are. So if you think about it, if a robot only read Mein Kampf and that's its only understanding of the world, it would be a Nazi. But if you give it the Holy Bible, or I don't actually, that might not be a good example either, because there's all kinds of violence in the Bible. But if you gave it some Buddhist sutras on compassion, or uh, have it learn about Asimov. I think Asimov was the guy that wrote the rules for robots. He laid down the law and said, you cannot do harm to others and blah 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 if you're a robot. And so there's basic rules that they could follow. So I mean, you could technically program it to keep those rules. But if you're a nation state and you want to destroy some other country and you want to use artificial intelligence, of course, you don't teach it those things. You would just destroy the enemy, kill everybody, initiate Order 66 or whatever, whatever that is. The Emperor in Star Wars, he's like, Order 66, begin it, initiate, kill them all. It's silly. But yeah, I think it's going to be, if there's any way to stop artificial intelligence, it would be with more artificial intelligence. I mean, humans cannot, like I say, can compete with it. It's already beaten the best chess players. It's beaten the best Jeopardy players. It's the physical limitations are getting to be where robots, if you look at a car factory or anything like that, those robots are so fast. They do things that you can't even hardly see with your eyes, and they do it with 100% accuracy. So all you need are some sensors, some motors, hook it up to a brain, and unleash it. It's fascinating if you think about it. I mean, there's nothing you can do, and people are going to create it. But technically, there are things you can do. I mean, you have robots require electricity, so if there's a plug in it involved in it, you could always unplug it. Right? Like, what is the robot's weakness? Static electricity, maybe microwaves. If it's not, doesn't have hardened electronics, microwaves or something static. Lightning bolts, lasers to, I don't know, blind them or something. I don't know how you would. I mean, but if they're always learning, and they're smarter than you, and they can learn instantly, and they're part of a hive mind of some sort of network, they would all know how to defend against anything that we try. What am I doing here? I'm actually supposed to be making it the other way. Let me delete this. Erase. Destroy. So, oh yeah, Stephen Hawking stands against AI. I think so, yeah. I think he's against it. Yeah, the 3 laws of robotics. And it is to be compassionate, you know, like, I don't know if he really thought when he was still around if robots would ever evolve to that point where we needed to rely on those laws. Alright, so I'm doing a side view. If you guys are trying to learn what it is I'm doing, I have a side view body to make of this character. What time is that? Got 9 minutes left? Man, this hour went by quick. So I'm thinking, kind of do this in a nice, simple way. So by the way, if you guys were interested to know what these look like up close, here's this paint's not dry yet in his mouth, but you can see how that black paint goes in there and gives it some depth. That's kind of what I was aiming for there. Man, it's been a long time since I saw Austin Powers. What was it, from the 90s? Man. But that was a good film, if I recall. It's like, yeah, baby. Isn't that guy, the actor's name, Michael Myers? Is it Michael Myers? He did the voice of Shrek, I think, and he was in Wayne's World. I heard that he's not really getting any roles because he's hard to work with, so they don't really work with him anymore. Sometimes you kind of wonder, like, why are certain actors just blacklisted in Hollywood like that when they seem to be really popular for a long time and then they just kind of disappear? I liked his films, though. I thought it was pretty funny. But that was so long ago, you know. It's like Hollywood. It's strange how certain people, like I say, they're really famous. They're popular. They have a lot of fans and everything, but if they don't get along with others on a sound stage or something, nobody wants to hire them. Alright, so I've got some of this different colored purple here that I've created. And I've still got this for the stripe. So let's see, is that going to be big enough? I think that's too small. This is going to be like the side view. I think I might have to make his belly bigger. Alright, do that first. So Hoserlu says Hollywood is still mad at him over the Love Guru. Oh, I don't know about that one. And Alexis says, I have been working on TV stations for over 20 years as a video editor, post-production, and the last 12 years as a 2D animator, mainly on After Effects, but I feel the need to get into stop motion. Oh, okay. Is it like a calling for you? Like you feel drawn to it? That's how it is for a lot of us, you know, people that are... I mean, Ron Cole's a good example. He's been doing it for I don't know how many years now. But yeah, it's really fun. I mean, I don't get paid to do it, so this is more just because I have a love for it, and it's kind of nostalgic for me because I did this at Gentleman Films in like the year 2001 or so. This is the first time I did a 2.5D sort of style animation like this, and I haven't done it in so long that I just want to do it again. And I built the clay on glass rig in the garage when I first started this project. It's been about 6 months or maybe longer, maybe a year, a year ago or something like that when I started this. And I just want to do it. Even though I have other projects, it's one of these things where you don't see this anymore so much. Like, I don't think I've ever seen any clay on glass stuff, actual short films, since like I said, maybe like the year 2000 or so, like the Penny cartoons, and then some of the Will Vinton stuff, which I think that was even before 2000 when they worked with Disney on that. It's probably like 1987. Let's see here. That's a bit better. So now he's got kind of a kidney-shaped body. That's the rough shape. It's got a pot belly, so I wanted to make that more prominent on this side view. Smooth it out. One frame at a time. Yep. I saw Lionel Orozco posted an update to that Dark Earth project that Peter's been working on. I don't know if you've heard from Peter, Ron. I mean, he's been quiet on the internet. I know he unfriended me a long time ago. He's not mad at me or anything that I can tell. Like, I don't think I did anything to him, but he's been working on that for a long time, and I'm hoping that wraps up pretty quick. Simply because I want to see that, see it succeed, and I want to see what he comes up with in terms of competing with computers, because I think that's partly what Peter's kind of aiming to do, is to make stop motion appear viable again, at least in the Dynamation style. So I'm kind of curious what happens with that. And I don't know, he's not a purist or anything, so he's gone full CG in terms of like After Effects and motion blur, all that kind of stuff. Alright, so here's the body. I think that shape looks pretty good, actually. Kind of comical. Okay, what time is it? Oh, it's 9 o'clock. Alright, well, I gotta get my son to bed, so I need to wrap up the show. But next week, for sure, we're definitely going to finish this up, because we just got the pants to make and this sort of belt that he's wearing. Alright, well, anyway, thanks everybody for stopping by. Stop by next week, next Wednesday at 8 p.m. Central again, and we will talk some more. Catch you guys all later.